Hey guys, this is Snack Attack 8, and welcome back to Let's Answer Questions, not Let's Play. This is part 4, and I don't entirely know what we're going to be watching in this episode, because I'm actually recording these questions before I have recorded the gameplay for them, so kind of in the dark about that, but it's probably good, so now I can't comment on what's actually happening in the gameplay, and like totally get off topic and get off of these questions, because that's really what I'm here for. The gameplay is supposed to be in the background, and in the last couple episodes I was like, oh, look at this, look at that, and I guess this way it'll be better because I'm not distracted. But yeah, so let's kick things off. We're going to start with questions by Ryan Phoenix. First of all, he says, woo, 500, congratulations. So thank you for that. I'm not actually at 500 anymore. Now I'm actually quite far below it, but with YouTube's subscriber purges and stuff, what are you really gonna do? I was really most excited about 500 subscribers. The thing I was most excited about was to do this special, and so since I'm doing it now, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. I'm much more interested, obviously, in viewers and commenters, and subscribers isn't as important of an issue to me. Why am I talking about this? Alright, Ryan Phoenix's first question is, where do you live? LOL, I'm gonna stalk you. LOL, not really, but yeah, really, totally gonna do it. LOL, tongue face. And it's interesting, I feel like I've heard that question somewhere before, but I can't quite put my finger on it. No. This was the sample question, pretty much, that I asked people not to ask me. And I had a feeling someone was gonna do it. But I guess Ryan Phoenix was the one to take the jump. So I'm not going to answer that, but that's good because that's not a real question of his. He did ask me some actual ones. His first is, digital download or physical copy of games? I think me and everyone else who grew up playing games before this current generation probably is pretty strongly on the physical copy side. Just because that's what I grew up with. And I like to have my games, you know, like I like to be able to display them for myself and sort of like organize them and hold them like my children. No, and I like to have them. Like obviously there's advantages to digital download too, as in, you know, their games I guess are more secure that way. They can't like break, and it's quicker. I guess you don't have to go out to the store and get them. But I like physical copy. It's just a preference of mine because that's what I've grown up with. I do believe that soon, maybe not in the next generation, but soon we're gonna move towards digital download, and it's kind of gonna become the main thing, and physical copy is eventually gonna die out, which it doesn't bother me too much. But as we are right now, I'm gonna prefer physical copy until it's gone forever. So his next question is, if you could hang out with one video game character for a day, who would you pick? And this is a hard question, but I'd probably go with Link from Zelda. Any of the Links. Just because I've sort of always wondered what it would be like to actually traverse one of the Zelda dungeons, like, firsthand. Like, I know, especially in the 3D ones, you get a good sense of what the dungeon actually looks like. But seeing it behind Link's back, I feel like isn't the same thing as it would be to be standing right there in these massive, puzzly, confusing places and having to work your way through it, being just you, like being in the first person, having to walk through it and stuff like that. And I think that would just be an awesome experience. So maybe me and Link could do that if we were hanging out. We could do some dungeoning, and then we could kick back in Kakariko or something after a hard day's work, and like drink some frosty milks and just like chill out in some lawn chairs. That would be fun, something like that. So Link, for that question. Sweet or sour is his next one. And is it weird that this is one of the questions that when I was reading over all of them, I had to stop and think the most about, because I just couldn't decide. I like sour and sweet, but I think I like too sweet more than too sour, so I'm gonna go with sweet for this one, if that makes any sense. But I like both tastes. So there's your answer to that question. His next is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean, obviously the chicken came first. Like, I encountered the chicken, I caught it in the wild, and I evolved it twice, and then I bred it when Gold and Silver came out, and then I got the egg. So obviously the chicken came first. because where else would the egg come from? His next question is, whoa, that was so stupid. I'm sorry. There is no answer to that. I'm sure if you looked it up online, there'd be some person who's like, oh, this is why. But no, no. What was the last video game you purchased? The last video game I purchased was Colors 3D from the 3DS eShop, or whatever you want to call that, which is kind of a game, I guess. It's pretty much a game. I'm going to consider it as that, but if you don't, then it was Kid Icarus Uprising, also on the 3DS. Alright, so that's it for Ryan Phoenix's question. Next we have Metallic's number ones. His first is this statement false? This is kind of like the chicken and the egg one, because it's an impossible question to answer, because if the statement was false, that would make it a true statement, which would contradict the fact that it's false in the first place. So you can't answer that. And these questions are too hard. Like, I need to give good answers to these. His next one is, have you ever been to PAX East? No, I haven't ever been to PAX East, but I'm planning, if everything goes right, provided I have the money and the resources and the time schedule, I'm planning on maybe going next year, come March 2013, I think it is. March? So, no, but possibly in the future. His third question is, if you were a goo ball, what goo ball would you be? I think if I was a goo ball, I would want to be just like the classic black one. Because, you know, if you're green, everyone's going to be moving you around all the time, and you'll never get any rest. And if you're red, then they're probably going to set you on fire. And if you're like that giant pink kind, then you might as well just off yourself right there, just end your own existence, because it's just not worth it. So I think I'd prefer to just be like put in one place and left there, so I'm going to go with the black kind. Plus that's the most iconic goo ball. His next question is fave 3DS game, which is hard because I only have a couple games for the system, and I like a lot of them pretty evenly, but I'd say it's probably Kid Icarus Uprising, just because I've been having a ton of fun with that lately. And his last question is, are you a brony? No, I'm not a brony, nor have I ever seen an episode of My Little Pony, though I've heard good things, but no, I'm not a brony. Alright, so that's it for Metallics. Those went by fast. We can do one more, I think. Next set of questions is from the Dr. Heavy. I think he sent me these in a PM, so that's why they didn't show up in the comments. But, yeah. His first question is, if you could be any video game character, who would you be and why? If I could be one video game character, I think I would probably pick Rayman. Just because I think his powers are really interesting and just would be fun to use. Like, he doesn't have arms, so he just, like, punches and, like, I don't know, he just it looks like it would be fun to be him. And just be able to, like, run around and just use... Because it's like, he doesn't have these super overpowered powers. Like, it wouldn't be... I feel like you wouldn't have a lot of responsibility if you were Rayman, and you could really kind of just do what you wanted, and kick butt when you needed to, and it wouldn't be like you're just some super ultimate god creature. You're just like this guy who can do cool stuff when he has to. And I really like the world he lives in. It's always depicted really colorfully and very sort of magical, I guess is a word to use. I don't know. It's just a very whimsical world Rayman lives in, as it's portrayed differently in all the games, but it's all kind of the same in that way. And yeah, he's just always lying. Like, you always see Rayman, like, relaxing and lying around when he's not out, you know, fighting evil. So, if I were him, I would just spend time relaxing in all the different environments and stuff. So, Rayman. Have you ever thought about doing a Let's Play in a game, that includes violence and swearing, but still a classic game? For example, Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64. I don't think I'd ever do an LP of Conker's Bad Fur Day because I don't have it, and I don't really know if I would do that game. I like that game, but I don't think I would do it. And that's all the games I can really think of that are classic games and still include violence and swearing. One game that is pretty violent that I think I would like to do an LP of in the future is Half-Life 2, which I guess you could argue that Half-Life 2 is pretty classic because it came out in 2004, but that's pretty old by today's standards, and it's just universally loved by critics and people, and it's gone down in history as a very genre-defining game, so I don't see how you couldn't call that a classic, actually. So yeah, Half-Life 2. There's not much cursing in that, but it is violent. So I guess other than that, nothing. But if you want, if you think Half-Life 2 counts as an answer to that, then Half-Life 2. Do you wish you could get Ura Zelda? So, for those of you who don't know, he's referring to a game that was slated for release on the N64 disk drive, and it was supposed to have bonus content like new dungeons and tunics and Easter eggs for The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. There's actually a video about it that he linked me, but I've seen before, from a YouTuber named Yuri of Wind. So if you're interested in Ura Zelda and actually seeing stuff about it, you could go watch that. As far as wishing I could get it goes, I would have got it if the game had actually come out, but it didn't. And I think it would have been a cool addition to a great game, but it's not out, so I can't really get it. So I guess I don't really wish I could, because it's impossible. This next question is, what's your biggest fear in video games and real life? My biggest fear in video games is that I didn't save. Which is, like, honestly, really. Sometimes in a game that you have to save that doesn't auto-save, which is more common back in the day, I guess. Nowadays, most games auto-save for you. Unless it's an RPG. But in a game that you have to save in, sometimes I'll, like, do it, and then if I don't immediately turn the game off, I'll go back and do it again, just because it's just a superstition. Like, I don't want to lose my progress, because you know nothing's ever going to turn out the way that you did it the first time. It's never going to be the same. So if you have to do it again and like you mess up or something, I don't know. But yeah, not saving, that's my biggest fear in games. Biggest fear in real life is being alone. Which doesn't mean being by myself, because I actually really enjoy that. I like to be on my own and do stuff alone, and I don't need to have people swarming around me all the time. But like, I mean like being like the last person on Earth. Or like being lost out in the wilderness or something and having no one around you. Or just being completely, like, with no one, like, no friends, no family, I don't know. It's kind of irrational and probably impossible, but that's probably my worst nightmare. Okay, this last question is a doozy. Okay, what would be your reaction if Nintendo made a new Zelda game, and when you come to the Water Temple is all previous Water Temples from the other Zelda games just remade? Like when you beat the Ocarina of Time Water Temple boss, you come to Majora's Mask, and so on. Plus, you don't get a heart container until you beat the last remade Water Temple. So, okay. So there's 16 games in the Zelda series, and most of them have a Water Temple in some form. So first of all, that would just be one long freaking dungeon. And I guess it would be cool to see how the developers took the water dungeons from the 2D games and like remade them into 3D. Unless like the 2D ones were still in 2D, which would just be lazy, really. Like if Nintendo just took all the previous water temples and put them all together, first of all, that wouldn't be good game design. It would take up so much time, and it would just be really lazy. I think what he wanted was me to like freak out and just be like, "Oh my god, I hate the water temples. That would be awful." But actually, over the years, the Ocarina of Time Water Temple in particular has become one of my favorite dungeons in that game. I probably like it second most. I like the Forest Temple, and that's probably the next one that's my favorite. And generally, in Zelda games, I find the water temples to be like pretty relaxing and atmospheric, so I would have a problem with that because it would be stupid. But if I had to play them all or something in order, I probably wouldn't mind too much. Except for Great Bay Temple, which I don't think I can ever forgive. If you saw my Majora's Mask LP, I guess you can. I guess you know what I'm talking about. But most likely, I would just be confused as to who at Nintendo thought it was a good idea to make something like that. And I guess that was a completely serious answer to a joke question, but it's the kind of mood I'm in right now. So anyway, guys, that's gonna be all. We're about at 15 minutes, which is a good place to stop. So thank you all thanks to all of you whose questions I answered in this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one for more questions. Later!